In this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite pickle recipes. Now, this isn't a fermented pickle, but rather a vinegar-based pickle recipe, but let's get right into it. Of course, it's best to use pickling cucumbers. These cucumbers I have here are the ones available to me, and I find they're pretty good for pickling and they keep their crunch pretty well. After giving them a quick wash, I'm going to cut them into halves and then slice diagonally, and this is just how I feel like cutting them this time, but you can cut them into any pickle shape that you like. I'm going to throw all my cucumber pieces into a mixing bowl and then add a teaspoon of fine sea salt and then half a teaspoon of MSG. Trust me on the MSG, it works well in pickles. Of course, if you have more cucumbers, you can add more salt and MSG, and if you have less, you can reduce the amount of salt and MSG. I'll mix everything together and then set that aside. Now, the ingredient that makes this my favorite pickle recipe is gennip, which is perilla leaf. It's a popular leafy green here in Korea, and it's mainly eaten with Korean barbecue. But it has this licoricey, star anise flavor that I think goes great with pickles. I'll add a handful of ripped perilla to the bottom of this glass flip top jar, along with some freshly ground black pepper, spicy chili flakes, and then a couple crushed garlic cloves. On top of all these ingredients, I'll add my cucumbers, which will also help hold everything down. Now, to make the pickle brine, I'm doing a 50-50 ratio of vinegar and water, which doesn't really need to be exact, so in a measuring jug, I'll add 500 ml of vinegar and 500 ml of water. In the past, I've also just roughly poured the vinegar straight into the jar until it reaches halfway up the jar, and then topped up the rest with water. But for mine, I'm just measuring it in a jug and then pouring it in cold without heating it up, just to save an extra step. I'll close it up and then set it aside at room temperature overnight, which should be enough time for the pickle juice to work its way into the cucumbers, and by the next day, these are ready to eat, so I'll move them to the fridge. Now, very fresh perilla leaves have quite a strong flavor, which works well against the strong acidity of the vinegar, which is what makes this one of my favorite pickle recipes. And of course, here's the crunch.